opponents are Steelers, Giants, and then they have their bye week. So these are two games that not only can they obviously win them, but they can also play to these teams.
Yeah.
So I like them. I mean, you can't deny the numbers.
How about
there are two teams in the league right now that I would be afraid to play if I was an NFL team, and that's the Colts and the Packers. They're just both on these rolls where the quarterbacks are playing at absolute top of their game. The running games are showing up, and their defenses, which are suspect, are both playing better than they are.
Right.
I would be scared to play both those teams.
Not to pile on the Bengals, but their first 8 possessions were 3 and outs.
Isn't that amazing? When I had an opportunity to put my head, to actually look at some of the scores, and when I saw that they lost that game, what was it, 27-0?
27-0.
27-0. I looked again. I'm like, what happened to Gio Bernard? Was he hurt? And to see that he was just completely unproductive, I thought was amazing.
7 carries for 17 yards.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
That's not even like really like trying. 7 attempts. But when you're not getting any first downs,
that's warming up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
And that's the thing, like we were talking about with the whole running the ball. I mean, they ran the ball 12 times as a team, where Indy rushed 34 times. I mean, where are you going to go with that?
They had 8 first downs the entire game, and 5 of them came on their last 2 possessions of the game.
And, in the post-game press conference, Andy Dalton, I think it was Andy Dalton who talked about this, and it was borne out in the box score. Their third down efficiency was 1 for 13.
Oh, my God.
1 for 13.
You're going to get 1 out of 13 by accident.
I think that's what happened. I mean, in compared to the Colts, who were 7 out of 13, I believe.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So
Andy Dalton, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong page here. Andy Dalton, 18 of 38 for 126 yards.
It's pathetic. You could throw that much, Keith, in a Nerf football game.
Nah, he throws back out after 10.
Do they still make Nerf footballs, or do they call them something different now?
No, well, the patent's expired, so everyone's got a form of foam football.
The Nerf ones all have like armor on them now or something. It's crazy.
There we go. Hey, how about them Cowboys? Dude. Oh, go ahead, Steve.
No, I was going to say, the Cowboys, they are amazing. What I was going to say is there a more emotional game this week, positive and negative, than the Bills game?
Against the Jets? You mean this one?
No. This past week against the Vikings.
Oh, against the Vikings?
They have an incredible come from behind victory, last second victory. So there's the elation, but then they lose possibly the best 1-2 running back punch in the league, or one of the best. Both guys are gone for at least a month. Fred Jackson's out at least a month. CJ Speller has been put on IR, so who knows when he's coming back, if he does. I was like emotionally just distraught after that game, because you have the huge loss of the running backs, but then the unbelievable come from behind victory.
Yeah,
I feel bad for the Bills, because it was like, what a great game for them, and then they lost their entire running game.
You saw the emergence of Sammy Watkins.
He played fantastic. But I mean, with the opponents they have come, they're going to need a running game, and they're going to have to scrounge. I don't know if they can find anything on free agency or
they have Anthony. They have Anthony Dixon.
Well, more importantly, they have Bryce Brown.
No, that too, but he didn't play in this game.
No, he didn't. He hasn't played in the first 7 games. They just put him on he's just been inactive, but I think he is the backup to Fred Jackson.
Oh, I got you.
So besides that, they traded for the guy where Anthony Dixon wasn't he cut by the 49ers literally as the season started, and they just added him as a body. Bryce Brown has the better yards per carry. Bryce Brown has never, except for one season, his rookie season, he's never had more than 29 touches as a running back in a season. Or not touches, carries, excuse me. So I actually think it's Bryce Brown, who Fred Jackson fully endorsed and said that he could carry the load as a workload running back. That's the guy I think that's going to be the man in Buffalo. But short of that, what's interesting is for 3 games in a row now, Kyle Orton has thrown for over 250, 275 yards. And in the past 2, he's thrown for 2 touchdowns each. He's averaging over 275 yards per game in his 3 starts. He is right now a QB2 in fantasy football. But I think more importantly, with their issues at running back, they're throwing maybe 43. They've thrown 43, 38, 43, I think it was what I saw in terms of pass attempts in these last 3 games. I think they're going to be pass heavy possibly the rest of the season. So I think Kyle Orton is going to get a little boost here, as well as Sammy Watkins.
Oh, so I think Sammy Watkins, I agree. I think he's going to be a stud.
Yeah, so mark my words. Hopefully we're coming back and you guys are patting me on the back instead of laughing at me.
We would never laugh at you to your face.
Never.
Well, that's good.
We have too much respect for you.
Because then I'd be so sad.
So let's ask this question now, because let's talk about Kyle Orton for a second here on the Bills. 31 of 43 yesterday, 43 pass attempts. They're asking Kyle Orton to throw 43 times, and he's finishing with a 95.4 rating, 2 touchdowns, including the game winner. Is EJ Manuel done as a Buffalo Bill, or is he just going to kind of hang out as the backup? Do you think?
I see him being the backup and learning from Orton. I mean, hopefully that's what they do, because, Orton's getting up there in years. He's got a few good years left in him. If EJ Manuel can learn how to control the game like Orton does, I think it will benefit him greatly. And he's not that crazy. He's not like a quarterback that everyone's going to be like, oh, I can't believe he's sitting on the bench. There's teams knocking down the door for him. I'd be amazed if there are any teams out there that are like, ooh, what's going on with him? Can we get him?
Yeah.
I think it's a fluid situation. There's no reason in the NFL to not have 2 good quarterbacks on your roster. You should have 2 quarterbacks on your roster today. However, if a team comes forward with a good deal for the Bills, and the Bills get to, get something out of it, I could see them moving on too. Part of this is going to have to do with how the Bills management views Doug Marrone, quite frankly. I mean, is he going to be their coach of the future? Or sort of because of what's happened, might they want to take a step back and go in a different direction, depending who's available as a head coach?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not walking around entirely impressed by him.
No, I don't think anybody is, but he has pulled a team that no one thought anything of after the preseason, and made them, well, now they're at least respectable.
Yeah.
Remember at the end of the preseason, this team was a mess. We thought they were going to be a tire fire.
That's true. That's absolutely true.
So they're not blowing anybody's hair back by any stretch of the imagination, but they're winning football games.
Yeah.
They're a tough team, and they have a solid defense.
Now, I did a recent article on who had the groin injury right before Fred Jackson. Noshan Moreno. I did a recent article. It's actually on the homepage of thefantasygreek.com. And it's basically on the groin injury that Noshan had, which I believe Fred Jackson has. Maybe not an identical at the same severity as Noshan Moreno, but I think it's close. Because Fred Jackson's indications are that he's potentially going to be out for 4 weeks. And right there, that says that he had a serious groin injury short of surgery, which is exactly what Noshan Moreno had. And that 4 to 6 weeks out, besides it being a long time, you never come back exactly right if you're going to come back at 4 to 6 weeks, because there's a huge risk of re-aggravating the injury. So, one, I don't think he comes back as the same Fred Jackson if he gets back in 4 to 6 weeks and they're in a position to make a playoff run. So I started doing the math in my head. I'm like, wow, Fred Jackson's got to he's really at the end of his career.
Oh, yeah.
Truly at the end of it. And this could be it for the guy. And the two running backs that we're going to see in the next few weeks, Anthony Dixon and Bryce Brown, could very well be, if not the running backs of the future, the running backs we could be talking about looking at next year, assuming that the Bills move on from C.J. Spiller.
Yeah,
which I think they will.
God, you think about how much for that. I hate to use the word era because I think it's cliched, but the two-headed monster that was Spiller and Jackson should at least theoretically be pretty good. To have it come and go this fast with little or nothing to show for it, just really disappointing if you're a Bears fan or a Bills fan.
I agree. I mean, I loved C.J. Spiller, and I've heard everybody poo-hoo him in the last few weeks, and I keep thinking to myself, what are you talking about? We've seen some very good football come out of him, and to not see it again, I don't know that I blame C.J. Spiller for this.
Right.
Yeah.
If they're not using him right.
That's the sad part about that injury. I mean, he broke a 53-yard run. That was incredible, and then broke his collarbone.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a beautiful. He torched everybody.
Yep.
Crazy.
It is crazy.
It's just silly, is what it was. All right, so let's talk about what else. What else stood out to us? How about the Thursday night game, the Patriots and the Jets? So the Patriots beating the Jets by blocking a field goal, and a little bit of controversy with the ref moving a player out of the way to avoid a penalty. Do you think that was the right thing to do for the referee? Because I personally think the referee should just keep his mouth shut and blow the whistle if it's a penalty. But the referee's office has said it's standard procedure, but I can't remember seeing it all that often.
Which was the play? I'm sorry, you got to refresh my. You said it, and I'm.
Thursday night, the last field goal attempt that was blocked by the Patriots.
Correct.
Okay. There was a player that was lined up over the center, which is in the last 2 seasons that's against the rule. And the referee leaned in and said, "Get out!" Told him to move, otherwise it's a penalty. Before
you're kidding?
Snap. No.
Wow.
It's like on video. It's pretty obvious. So I would have a big problem with that if I was a Jets fan. I just didn't know what your guys' thoughts were.
Well, I don't know how that rule exactly works because I know for wide receivers, when they line up on the outside, they can actually look at the line judge and get them to tell them whether or not they are properly lined up without being offsides. It's just standard procedure, and they will do that.
Right.
So I'm wondering if there's something like that, because I'd never heard of anything as to linemen.
Yeah, I would think that it would be one thing to ask for help, but to have a referee just kind of look out for you and be like, oh, no, that's a penalty, buddy. I'd be irritated if I was a Jets fan.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, how about them Jaguars? Can we talk about the Jaguars?
Absolutely.
Beating the Browns at home 24-6, which just furthers the enigma. I mean, let's think about this past week in the NFL. You had the Saints, who are typically a horrific road team, hang in tight against probably the toughest defense in the league in the Detroit Lions, right now anyway. The Seattle Seahawks losing to the St. Louis Rams. And you had a Browns team who has, for the most part, played good football this season, just do a no-show at Jacksonville. What do we take away from this game if you're a Browns fan?
It's just they're one of those teams that they can't figure out who they are. Are they a good team or are they a bad team? Because when they play against the teams they should lose to, they win. When they play against the teams they should beat, they lose. It's like they're playing up to their competition.
Brian Hoyer, 16 of 41 he's not a 41 attempt guy. He's like Ben Tate, 16 carries for 36 yards. I don't know.
That sounded like the Jaguars came out to play.
Yeah, seriously. Denard Robinson, 22 carries for 127 yards. We were talking about this during the break. Blake Bortles didn't light the world on fire by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, 3 interceptions in this game, which was surprising.
They outgained the Browns by only 70 yards. And the Browns were 4 of 17 on third downs, and Jacksonville was 5 of 16 on third downs. It was which team wanted to suck the least. And somehow
Yeah.
the Jaguars put up 24